Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of our 2021 Odoo webinars. My name is Jacqueline Meza, and I am a customer success manager here at Odoo. And today in our presentation, we are going to be talking about the upgrade process for Odoo.sh. Before I get started, we want to make sure that this is a very interactive webinar. So please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat and also tell us where you're tuning in. During the presentation, you feel free to ask any questions that you might have. I know that we have some Odooers who are also joining this webinar and they'll be able to answer any of your questions. If not, at the end, we're also going to have a Q&A session where you can send those questions to me and we'll discuss here on the webinar. Before I get started, to talk a little bit about my role here in customer success, we are in charge of ensuring that our customers are happy and that they are satisfied with Odoo. My main role includes being the mediator between Odoo and the client, and just ensuring that I answer any questions in regards to your subscriptions, your implementation, any questions about billing, or in this case, about the upgrade process. And the reason why we decided to do an upgrade series about Odoo.sh, SaaS, and on-premise is because we receive a lot of questions from our customers who think that the process is sometimes difficult to decipher. So they have a lot of questions about how can we start this process, how can we be more efficient in testing, and when am I going to get my database back? That being said, let's go ahead and get started. So let's go over the agenda first. The first thing that I am going to be analyzing is going to give you a general overview of the upgrade process. How long is it going to take? What is the difference between upgrading and migrating for in Odoo? Also, why should you consider upgrading your database? Then we're going to go step by step on the upload process. Now that you've made the decision, how do I even start the process and what should I be expecting to see from Odoo and what should I prepare myself to do as well? Then we're also going to go over what happens if my database fails when I submit it for upgrade, or what happens if it is a success. How do my actions differ for both of these scenarios? And also, how am I supposed to test my new database? What are the best practices? What questions should I be asking myself and my team so that we ensure that our database is good to go for when we want to go live with it? And then at the end, I'm also going to review how to go about finally pushing your database into your live instance so that you can start using your new version. Lastly, we are going to have some time for Q&A. As I mentioned, definitely feel free to send those questions over the chat. And at the end, if there are any questions and answers, those will be sent to me and we can discuss. Okay, so I think we might be having some technical issues on my end. If they continue, we might have to stop and then restart. So just to talk a little bit about the difference between Odoo upgrade versus an Odoo migration. And this is the main question that we receive from our customers. What is the difference between both? Can you do one and the other? So upgrading is to change from one version to the other. Let's just say that you have been a customer with Odoo for many, many years, and your database, or when you started, Odoo was on version 10. However, many years have passed, and Odoo releases a new version every year, usually around September. You can request to be added to the queue or request the process in January. However, now we're on version 14 and you want to take advantage of all the new functionalities. That is when you would request for an upgrade. If you want to migrate, that is changing hosting types. And Odoo has three different hostings. What we call on-premise, which is self-hosted or anything that is not hosted by Odoo. Odoo SaaS, also called Odoo Online, and Odoo.sh. The big question is, why should I upgrade? It is very important to upgrade in order to have access to new functionalities and applications. When we released version 14, many of our customers were very excited about the new functionalities on our website module. We had new templates, we pretty much changed the entire interface and the way that you can use our drag and drop functionalities to develop your website. And we also released some new modules per se, for example, Odoo spreadsheet, which a lot of our customers had requested in previous versions, and now is finally available for use. Another reason is because, especially in Odoo.sh, many of our customers have made customizations to their database in the past in order to ensure that the database work for their own workflows. However, as time passes, Odoo might have developed the what your customization does. So maybe it is possible for you to turn off that customization and just use Odoo out of the box. And we always recommend using Odoo out of the box as much as possible, just because it makes everything much easier. Our applications can communicate way better. So that is another possibility. Another reason is that Odoo only provides support to the last three versions. This means that at the moment we're only supporting version 12, 13, and 14. And the reason for this is because as time passes, less people are knowledgeable on older versions and the specifics of those versions. And for that reason, we limit our assistance to the last three versions of Odoo. And this means that, for example, if you're on version 11 at the moment and you submit a question in our support ticketing system, we might or might not be able to answer that question for you. And the last thing is that upgrading Odoo is a service that is included for enterprise customers. It is pretty much a free service. However, we have to take into account that this does not include custom code or any third-party applications. And we are going to go more in depth as to what this means in my next slide. Odoo.sh is the best of both worlds. And there are some specific qualities of this hosting that many of our customers have. Obviously, in any hosting, we have Odoo Standard, which is what you would start off, and it's pretty much Odoo core out of the box, what we as a company provide to our customers. However, many of our customers decide to maybe add customizations, and these customizations can come through one of our applications, which is called Studio. And Studio is a paid application that Odoo offers that you can get in our App Store, and it allows you to make changes to the views or create new custom fields. And these customizations are included in the upgrade for free as long as no code is present. There are some special cases where you can use Python code to make some changes through the Studio app, and those customizations would not automatically transfer during the upgrade. Then we also have many of our customers who acquire applications through our App Store. These applications are developed either by our partners or an independent developer, and they're able to upload this app and sell it to our customers. We are not responsible for upgrading those applications because we really don't know what really goes behind the creation of that app. So sometimes it can be complicated for us to take responsibility and to upgrade it. However, if you know that you're going to need a certain application that you bought on version 10 and you need it now that you're switching to version 14, the best thing that you can do is contact the author, ask them if the application is available in the new version, and if not, maybe you can work with them for so that it is upgraded. We also have other clients who have opted for custom code. And this custom code is just modifications to the database in order to help any other internal processes. This custom code can be either developed by Odoo, developed by the client, or developed by the partner. If it was developed by Odoo and you as a client is paying for maintenance, then this custom code is going to be included in the upgrades process. However, if it was developed by a partner, it's not included on our end, but you can talk to your partner and see if they offer any options for you to upgrade those customizations. So now let's go into the process. So how long does it take to complete an upgrade? And the reality is that it is a little bit complicated to say. And the reason being is that Odoo is an amazing system that allows our customers to really develop their workflows the way that they want. Many of our customers have 2 applications, while others have 20. So the size of the database and the complexity of each database is very different. And this can sometimes cause the upgrade to be delayed. And I know that this um, chart looks very scary. However, in later slides, I'm going to break it down and go step by step on what each portion means. However, right now, I'm just going to give you a quick summary of the entire process. The first thing that you would do is get a dump of your data of your current production database, download it into a zip file, and then you're going to upload it into our portal. Once you upload that file into our portal, the system is going to automatically try to upgrade that database without the intervention of our software engineers. Oops. If that happens, and right now I am in the second square, we are having some technical issues. Um, Once you upload the database into our portal, there are 2 things that can happen. Either the upgrade is going to be successful, and then you will receive an email telling you that you can download an upgraded dump of your database and upload it into your Odoo.sh portal for testing. Or if you're going to receive an email that tells you that your upgrade it was not successful and that it requires manual intervention. If it requires manual intervention, we're going to need someone from our team to look at the database, look at the scripts, and see why it failed. They're going to fix it and then return you a copy of your database. When it goes into manual intervention, it can take a couple of weeks to a couple of months to be addressed because it's on a first come, first serve basis, which means that depending on the amount of requests that we have is the amount of time that it will take for someone to be assigned. However, when you finally have your testing database, then you will go through your regular workflows, you will identify any errors, and every time you identify a mistake or an error in your database, you will file a ticket with us. We will work on fixing that issue, and then we'll return that database to you. And like I mentioned, I'm gonna break this down step by step, and please, again, feel free to ask any questions if you have on the chat or at the end of the presentation. So now that we kind of have a rough idea of what the process is, let me show you how you would request an upgrade. The first thing that you're going to do is that you're going to log into Odoo.sh, go into your projects page, and then go into builds. There, you're going to look for your production database. Click on the top right-hand corner on the three dots, bring down the drop menu and click Download Backup. This is going to create a zip file. However, when you're downloading the backup, make sure that you select Exact Dump and then Without File Store. You need to make sure that you select these specific options in order for this request to be successful. And then you click Start. Automatically, the system is going to redirect you to the landing page where it's going to show you that a backup operation is in progress. Once this is completed, you can select download and it should give you a zip file of your production database. Then with this zip file, what you're going to do is go to upgrades.odoo.com. And there are two ways that you can request for an upgrade. The first one is a little bit technical. However, the instructions are here and you can review them and go over them. But we also have our more traditional form. And the way to access that form would be by clicking right there on the arrow where it says the above is too technical. It would redirect you to this form. And here, make sure that you have all the correct information. So you would add your enterprise code, your email, and make sure that this email is one that you are going to be monitoring constantly and or that is of the person who will be responsible for this upgrade. There are many times where my customers have selected an email that they are not checking constantly of a person who doesn't really know what is going on. And every time we send them emails, we tell them that their upgrade is ready, they just don't look into it and they forget about it. And then in 3 to 5 months, they come to us and ask what the progress of their upgrade is. And it turns out that it is barely on stage one. And the reason is because we couldn't communicate with the client. Then you're going to select your database dump, and that is the zip file that you just downloaded. Your target version, a lot of our customers, many of our customers do the latest version. However, if for some reason you maybe want to upgrade to version 13 because of any specific functionalities, you also will have the option to do that. And then the most important thing about this form is that you must select for testing. If you select for production, and this is the first time that you're submitting a request for upgrade, when we return the database, that database is not going to be ready for you to utilize in your live and to go live with it. There can be so many errors with it. For that reason, right now, you have to select for testing. If for some reason you select for production and you push that database into production, we have the option to restore one of your backups. However, we cannot guarantee that some of the data of your original database won't get lost. So now you already did it. What happens next? You're going to be receiving a confirmation email. It is going to let you know that your upgrade request was successfully created. It's going to give you your contract number and your ID. And pretty much on this email, it's just a confirmation email going to let you know what you should be doing before upgrading and also what should you be paying attention after the upgrade. I think right now, it is a good time to talk about the custom code that we discussed at the beginning of the presentation. You have submitted your database and now you're just waiting for us to return a test database. As I mentioned, the custom code is not included in our upgrade process unless we are the ones who develop that code. So right now, it is a good time for you to start investigating and reaching out to the creator of the third-party modules to see if they have the module available in a new version and what to do to either turn it off or uninstall it once you receive your testing database if you no longer want it. For studio customizations, like I said, that should be included in the upgrade. But if you have any special customizations, that will be your responsibility to upgrade or the partner's responsibility if you're working with one. So make sure that you come up with a plan as to what you're going to do when you receive the testing database to upgrade this specific code. If you have any custom code that has been developed by Odoo, make sure that you email your customer success manager, the consultant you're working on, or your account manager, your point of person at Odoo, and ask them to create a task in order to migrate all of your custom code. You want to do it at this time at the beginning, just so that we can do both processes consecutively. We don't want you to find yourself in the situation where you have a lot of custom code developed by Odoo, and then we return a testing database, but all your custom code is not ready. So we want to make sure that both the custom code and the core database are ready to test as soon as we return the database to you. Some tips for a successful upgrade is that you should not make any modifications to your production database while you are in the process of upgrading. When you submit your database for upgrade, we are creating scripts to make sure that all the information is successfully transferred from the older version to the newer version. That's why every time you test and every time you return that database to us with errors and we fix them, we kind of create a new script to make sure that it is working correctly for when you actually decide to do your final upgrade and go live. However, if you make any modifications to your production database, the the testing database that we return to you is not going to include those modifications. So pretty much you are going to have to restart the process and just request a new upgrade database. Along the same lines, do not add any third-party software for the same reason, and also start learning about the new version. And you can do this either at odoo.com/slides, where we have many videos by our amazing Amy Caroline, and she goes step by step into how each one of our applications works. Or you can also read our documentation, which is available in any version. I have encounter many times that our customers sometimes receive their testing database. They see something that they believe it's wrong, so they submit a ticket with our support. They wait for weeks, and then the response that they get is that that's actually an out of the box behavior of Odoo. It just changed from one version to the other. So if you start learning about the new version, situations like this one can be avoided and you can just move faster along your upgrade process. And then lastly, I always recommend my customers to acquire a success pack. A success pack gives you access to a consultant, a dedicated consultant who is familiar with your database, your implementation and workflows, and who can also assist you in this process. It is always good to have a point of contact who you know you can rely on and who can really guide you through any steps, any process that you want, and even provide training in the new version that you are going to. So now the third part of this presentation is fail or success plus testing. So what happens if your database fails? And what happens if it is successful? So those are the pretty much the two outcomes that you will have once you submit your request into our portal. If the upgrade failed, you will receive an email that tells you your Odoo upgrade request has failed. Here is your contract number. Here is your ID. It's maybe going to tell you what is the error that made this process not successful. And a lot of customers do not see or do not read through the entire email and they miss the most important part. At the bottom, it tells you that if you want Odoo to look into this, you have to submit a ticket at odoo.com/help. If you do not submit a ticket when you receive an email that your upgrade failed, our team will not work on resolving this issue. So in order for the process to get kick-started on our end, we need you to copy this email, copy the error, and send it to odoo.com/help. And I'll show you in our later slides how that form looks and just the process of submitting the ticket. The other instance is if it's a success. So if your Odoo upgrade request has been successful, again, I mentioned you might receive this in a couple of hours, it's going to give you a link where you can download a dump of your upgraded database, and it's going to give you a code so that it is valid for 30 days and you can start your testing. So now, how do you test? And the way that you're gonna upload the database, the zip file into your testing environment is by going to Odoo.sh, going to your projects page. And instead of selecting production, you're going to select one of your staging branches. And in Odoo.sh, a staging branch is your test environment. So make sure that you have one allocated for testing your new version. You're going to click on backups and then you're going to click on import database. Then this screen should pop out. Click next. And then you're going to select through your browser. And it tells you right here that it's easier for dumps smaller than 2 gigabytes. However, I would say 90% of our customers will fall on this option just because the file or the database is coming through a zip file. However, make sure you select the one that it is appropriate for your company. Once you do this, um, the system will load and you are going to be able to connect into it by clicking on history and selecting connect. Some tips for testing. Now that you finally got your database back and you're going to connect to it, you have to focus on your regular workflows. You need to ensure that what you do on your everyday is working on this new version. So if you are a customer that has many products that they sell in point of sale, make sure that you create this scenario where you're selling to a specific customer, where you're charging taxes, just to make sure that all of that is working correctly. Ensure that all of your studio's customizations were transferred correctly, that all of your reports and your custom views are there. And the most important thing is to get the rest of your team to help. As you know, we are only knowledgeable of what we do on our everyday. So if I am working in sales and I never use the marketing application in the system, I'm not going to be able to recognize if there's an error in the marketing app. The best person to test that would be someone on the marketing team. So make sure that this is like a team effort. You're working together with the rest of your coworkers and you're coming up with a list of all the issues that you're encountering. And some of the things that you should not focus on is, for example, things that are not going to work on a testing database. Bank synchronization is not going to work. Sending out emails to customers is not going to work. And this is especially for security reasons. We don't want you to be testing something on your database and all of a sudden you send 20 emails to your customers that you didn't intend to. A lot of our customers get really excited that they have the new version and they start working on their templates or they start creating modifications in the database. And these modifications are not going to transfer to production. So what you should focus on is just the workflows and ensuring that everything is correct, working correctly. Yes, you can maybe test one or two new functionalities, but just know that anything that you create in this testing environment will not transfer once you decide to go live with your database. And now another important topic is how to create a ticket. So I am testing, my team is testing. We've encountered 5 issues on the database. The first thing you're going to do is go to odoo.com/help. Fill out the request. It's going to ask you for your subscription number, the email of the person in charge, and at the bottom you'll have something called the ticket description. For the ticket description, make sure that you select an issue related to my upgrade test phase. And the reason why we want to select this option is because any other option is either going to be about your production database, the one that is still on the old version, um, and it would go to a different channel. So just make sure you select that option for anything regarding your upgrade request. Another important point is that you should submit 1 ticket per issue. If you have 5 issues and you include all those 5 issues in 1 ticket, one support member is going to look at it and work on it, and it might take a little bit longer to get all those issues resolved. However, if you feel 1 ticket per issue, we might assign 3 of our support members to those 5 tickets, and it'll just help us move at a faster rate. And something that many customers forget is that Odoo is very different, and what your processes are at your company might not be the same as to what they are in a different company. So our team members are not always familiar with everyone's workflow. So it's important that if you encounter a mistake or an error, that you include videos, pictures, error tracebacks. The most information you can provide, the faster you're going to get an answer. Well, not an answer, but the faster it is going to be for our support member to resolve that issue. Um, and also, it's just gonna help us move a little bit faster since we're not gonna have to keep going back and forth with you, trying to figure out what the issue really is. And then final upgrade. And again, I really want to apologize for this flicking. I don't know if you're seeing it also on your end, but it seems that the animations are creating a little bit of a lag on my end. So what you're gonna do for you're ready, you have finished all the testing that you want to do. Now you are going to request for a final upgrade. And I'm gonna go a little bit faster through this since it's pretty much a repetition of the initial process. You're gonna log into Odoo.sh and then going to build. You're again going to download a backup of your production database. You're going to go back to the upgrades portal, again, fill out your information, select the dump, but then this time, instead of selecting for testing, you are going to select for production. And this means that everything in your database has been fixed. You have been going back and forth with our team. You are ready to go live. And if everything is working correctly, this process should return you a database in about 2 to 3 hours. So that's what you should bank off for your downtime. Also, make sure that after you download the dump for your final upgrade, that you don't have people working on the old database. Because if they do, all that information is not going to transfer to the new database. So the minute that you download that last zip file, ask your entire team to stop working and stop submitting orders into your old database. Another common question that I get is, if I'm going through this entire process, do I have to interrupt my daily activities on the production database? And the answer is no. All of this is happening in the background. We are going to ask you to test. We are going to ask you to send us feedback. However, your main production database is not going to get impacted in any way. So you can keep working and using it as you normally would. Just don't add new customizations or third-party modules. But yeah, everything should be normal until the point where you're ready to go live, and maybe you will experience a downtime of a couple of hours. So today in this presentation, again, the glitching is still there, but we went over the general overview of what is an upgrade of the system. We also went over the uploading process. How do you upload your database into our upgrades portal, and what should you expect? What happens if you received an email that your upgrade failed? Or what happens if it was successful? Plus, how should you test this? Then, how should you go about requesting the final upgrade and pushing your database to production? So now we can go into the Q&A. Definitely let me know if you have any questions. I know that because of the way that YouTube work, there might be a little bit of a delay while I'm receiving your questions on my end. So please be patient. In the meantime, let us know also what is your favorite feature of Odoo 14 if you have already had a chance to look into it. And yeah, let us know what we can help you with. We are here to answer any questions that you might have. And also, if you have any questions in the future, definitely feel free to send me an email or contact your customer success manager about it. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to look for the questions. So we got our first question. It says, can you start updating your custom code on a development branch while waiting for the upgrade to go through the process? Oh, I think this question has already been answered. Is the 2-3 hours counted 24/7 or just business hours? We just do business hours, so Monday through Friday. When you decide, if you have custom code and you want to go live, make sure that you let your customer success manager know when you're going to be doing this process so that we can intervene in case of anything going wrong. However, our team is usually available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time. And then when a client changes partners, how to transfer his environment from the Odoo.sh of one partner to the other. So in this case, you will, depending on who owns the GitHub repository and the deal that you have with the partner, you will need to ask your partner to give access to the repo to the new partner so that they can kind of take over that code and see how they can upgrade that for you. Not entirely sure if that answered the question. Let's see if we have any other questions coming in. Give me 1 second. Please feel free to keep sending your questions. Allison had a question about during that 2 to 3 hours, do we need to stop crons? Do you mean like all of your activities? Yes, during those 2 to 3, as soon as you download the dump of your database, you have to stop all actions. So just to make sure that nothing is missed or nothing happens during that transition that is not going to show in the new database. So make sure that, yeah, in your old database, you need to stop everything during the upgrade process. And then we have another question from Sunny saying, we have found a lot of times there are issues with accounting data getting lost in the upgrade process. How long does it take for you to respond with the upgrade tickets? And this is why testing is so important. It's very essential for you to really understand what information is missing and for you to really test your accounting module and just make sure that all the data that you need is there. If it's not there, submit a ticket and they will resolve this issue. If you're still in the testing stage, it depends on the amount of tickets that we have on the queue. It can take a couple of weeks for them to be addressed. However, if we get it fixed during the testing phase, that would ensure that once we push to production, that issue won't be there. However, let's just say that you push to production and then after a couple of weeks you realize that there's an error in your accounting. Then at that point you will submit a regular ticket through our portal because now this database is in production and it would just be the regular wait time. I think at the moment we are around 2 to 3 days business days for someone in our functional team to respond to your inquiry, and they then they should analyze if they can resolve that in functional or maybe they need to send it to our technical team. But like I said, it is definitely important to address these issues in the testing phase so that you don't have them once you push to production. Are you, and then another question that we have from Lucas is, are you going to support this process for self-hosting customers? And we're actually going to have a webinar for all of our process to upgrade the database for self-hosted. Not entirely sure when the day is, but definitely check our events because they're going to go in depth as to the difference between upgrading for a self-hosting database. However, we we the upgrade process is the same for the core for Odoo, and but for any custom code that you have created or your partners have created, that will be your responsibility to upgrade to the new version. So anything that I cover on this slide for out of the box Odoo is pretty much the same as well for self-hosted customers. And I'm still waiting for a couple more questions, I think. Oh, I think we're done with the questions. But again, thank you so much. Um, there we had some technical issues, but what is at the webinar without some technical issues? And definitely, if you have any other questions in the future, feel free to reach out. My email is right there, jta@odoo.com, or reach out to your customer success manager in charge of the subscription. I hope you have a wonderful day. And as Amy says, if I don't see you, have a good evening and good night. Thank you.